All right, putting on my super secret zoom lens technological glasses here. Looking all around. Oh, what is? Oh, it's Christopher S. Jacobs. Christopher, what's going on?
Oh, a whole lot going on. Ayin, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing great. And I'll punctuate that with a oh, yeah. So I'd like to welcome all the viewers to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. We're here today with Christopher S. Jacobs, who we've seen once a month for the last 2 months. And Christopher is one of the top psychics in the nation. He is an empath and a healer, experiencer, survivor, abductee, and he has also neutralized many of these ghost grounds of old hauntings. For instance, it's not Gettysburg, but one of these old Civil War. Which Civil War battlefield was that?
It was actually Gettysburg, yeah.
Oh, okay, it was Gettysburg. And not only that, he and his wife make orgone rods that you can click at the link below to go look at their website, which is The Lifting, and get on board with them, see what their services are. Christopher, what is the exact address of The Lifting?
The website is thelifting2017.wix that's wixsite.com/thelifting. And if people want services, our services, psychic services, they can set up an appointment through the appointments tab or go to the services tab to pay for that. And then the lifting mystical wares is where we sell the orgone rods.
Okay, perfect. And of course, these links will be right here below in the comments section. So in case somebody out there didn't get that, just look below and you'll see those links, and it'll take you right there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we've actually had some really good success with the rods lately. We've created several different kinds, actually, that are for specific tasks. The Rosa rods, the large ones, those are the fat, beefy ones. Those are meant for property protection. You put them on the four corners of a house, and they'll put a dome over the house, and it's proved to be very, very good. But you have to sage the inside of the house first, or you end up trapping something in there. We learned that on the hard way with both a good entity and a bad entity. So we trapped a scared elemental in here one time by accident, and it's like, oh, sorry, and I had to open the shield up to let him out. But then they learned to attune their frequency so the benevolent entities could come back and forth. But then we have the mini Rosa rods, which you can use indoors. It does the same thing as the big ones. That's for a smaller sized home. The big rods are for a bigger property. And we do, one of the best ones I think we've created so far is one that I nicknamed the Holy Hand Grenade. Because that one, a friend of mine also nicknamed it the Demon Shredder, because it will suck in demonic entities through the ends of it and then kind of burst out this energy from its center. It's a fission or fusion reaction that takes place inside this piece, and it uses the demon as the power source to create the perpetual cycle.
Wow! Awesome. So does it send them back to source?
Pretty much, yeah. It transmutes them into an energy that is more palatable for humans to exist in. And it only takes care of evil things and negative energies that are unbalanced, I've noticed. And it had an effect that I did not count on when we created this. It actually does, what I do is I remove attachments from people. This rod will actually tear attachments from anybody that's holding. I've noticed that it'll actually start to suck the attachments off of them and start to balance their energy out. And that was an after effect I didn't actually count on. I had it for a specific purpose, clearing haunted sites, and it ended up having a healing purpose too.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. Now, I've seen some of these, orgone devices and everything. And that's basically what it is. What's that in your hand?
Oh, this is a selenite wand. That I use when I do channelings and sessions and such. And this one is more of an ability, like a psychic ability enhancer type stone. And I hold this when I do my sessions. And I also have a shungite orb in this hand.
Okay, how do you spell that shungite? How do you spell that?
It's Shungite.
Okay, that just like it sounds, shungite.
Yeah.
Okay, well I know what the first one was the what's it called? The one.
Oh, selenite.
Selenite. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have another piece here. Yeah, and I have a piece here too.
Yeah, I have some selenite, and I've just read good things about it. In other words, it's an all around good. Tell us the properties of the selenite specifically.
From what I've noticed, that when I hold this, it seems to ground my psych abilities, my third eye sight, and it seems to actually provide an enhancement while I'm actually doing what I'm doing. Like if I'm running into some real fuzziness, like if I'm encountering some signal that is disagreeing with me in some way, some resistance, I'll hold this thing that's like a grounding rod. That actually allows me to enhance my sight. There are other stones that do that, like apatite. That's another stone that does that. Malachite is another one, and moldavite is another one that does that. I've noticed.
Those are all minerals that do grounding. They get you grounded.
Actually, the moldavite, malachite, and selenite enhance psychic abilities. It's just the fact that this is in this form, this like rod form, that allows me to ground this psychic ability and enhance it more. But the other ones will actually raise you up higher. Like moldavite is another one that is really strong, extremely strong. It's also expensive too, but moldavite is fairly powerful. But the malachite is one that I have, this green one here.
Oh, okay, I see it. Yes. Now, the selenite is one of your more affordable ones, is it not?
Oh, yeah. It's actually much more affordable than malachite. I have this green piece of malachite here that I have on my shelf. It looks like a dragon scale.
Yeah, it almost looks like some black goo.
Yeah, kind of. It's dark green. So
wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You can almost see a face in it.
Yeah. Actually, in the indentations in the back of it, there's a face kind of with a mouth going, in the back of it here.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder how they get formed like that. Now, on this selenite rod that you've got, if you were to get a warm glass of water and put it in there and leave it there overnight, what would happen?
I have not tried that just yet, but I believe it would actually, the water, it would start to, from what I understand, I've seen other stones do this. The water would start to take on the properties of the stone. It's like it's a form of orgonite, but for water. I've noticed that the water will carry the effects of the stone. That's what we've done with rods too. Well, we'll throw them in a lake or something to clear some energies out, and the water will actually spread it out further. I've noticed the water will do that with any stone you put into it. It'll take on the properties of any stone.
Okay. Well, I've heard this. I don't know if this is true, but selenite, maybe if you leave it in there long enough or something, it'll actually kind of like dissolve like sugar or salt, won't it?
If you leave it in there a very long time. My mother warned me about that with selenite and some of the more porous stones. It'll dissolve into the water, which that's another reason I haven't put this in the water. But
right.
That will happen. And shungite will do the same thing over a period of time as well.
It can break more easily too, can it? The selenite than those other stones you mentioned.
Oh yeah. This one's a pretty sturdy piece, but we've had pieces that we looked at them wrong and they just cracked open.
Yeah.
But fluoride's another fragile one. Fluoride is actually sun sensitive, and this is why I don't use it too much. It's a powerful stone, but if sunlight hits it for too long, it breaks.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. And, like if you have a pyramid of it or a wand of it, you set it in a window to get charged by sunlight, it'll just break apart.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I found out about gemology or whatever is there's two distinct, markets or whatever in there. And there's the people that are like the gemologists, they're just totally about the stones or whatever. They don't want to hear about any mystical properties or anything. And then there's the people that are, I don't know what you want to call it, but more like like you and I that see the properties and everything like that. Some people might call it New Age or something. But the one difference is, and they're kind of like mutually exclusive, or at least the people that are the geologists or whatever, they totally, shun the other one. But it just so happens that their versions of the same thing a lot of time can be a lot cheaper, can't they?
Oh yeah, you get these products from like the people that just want to sell the stones for the sake of selling them. Like we went to Quartzsite, Arizona, to a really large rock and gem wholesale expo that was there, and it's there every year, I believe in March. And we went down there. Took us a few hours to get down to Quartzsite, and I had never been there before. And we went to this show, and crystals that are normally very, very expensive anywhere else. This whole this was like just a sea of like wholesalers that were there. And I went into this one. Some of them were indoor, some were outdoor. And we went around, and that's where I got that malachite piece that I showed you was up there. And then some of these pieces here, like this cat's eye orb I got for real cheap. Cat's eye is good for diffusing certain energies.
Is that the same thing as tiger eye?
Yeah, I call it cat's eye. I'm always calling it cat's eye, but it's tiger's eye.
Yeah, I got some new tiger eyes I got the other day. What is it good for?
It actually helps to disperse strong magnetic and EMF fields. From what I noticed, because we had a bunch of magnets that we bought at that event, and I can't be around large amounts of magnets. It starts to mess with me after a while. And there was like a big bag that we got of these torpedo magnets, those pill-looking ones, and we use them in our pieces. I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm not going to be able to handle this on the way back home. Well, it was sitting in the trunk. Well, I had that in my pocket. It never bothered me. It never bothered me all the way back home.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and also what was interesting there, I got this. Actually, I got to lean over here. This crystal, this large one here. Mm-hmm. We got that at Quartzsite. And I put this. This is a fairly large piece. I put it on our nightstand over here. And these pieces, you see all the different windows and such, and all the memory that's in this piece here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this actually has helped with keeping the energy high in our room. Having when I do channels and stuff, the downloads come through these crystals. Where I get some of the messages and such from. And it was very cheap at this event because it was mostly the gemologist types that were there, and also the people that just wanted money. Some of them didn't care about the mystical thing. There were a couple mystical people there, but most of them were these gemologist types. And I got rose quartz there, real cheap, everything real cheap, because they weren't attributing the mystical properties to it. It was just the scientific and money qualities.
Yeah, and I guess beauty, the grade of the stone or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's exactly how they were reacting versus the mystical quality. Because I started bringing up some things that we were doing with them, and it was, a couple people was like we had two heads. We were talking to them, they were looking at us like we had two heads. But there were a couple there that actually supplied stores that actually had the mystical know-how with it that ended up being really good to trade with and to spend our money with. But yeah, it was actually a very good event. I'm actually glad we went to that because we're going to keep going back to that one every single year. We were going to go to Tucson to actually do this, but it was too expensive and too far. And we're like, okay, we're going to find something else. And Joanna found the one in Quartzsite and had gotten basically a hotel room that was close to there. It was around I believe it was a birthday gift she got me. She had never told me about this. That she said that we were going to this rock and gem show. She knew I'd go completely nuts there, buying a bunch of stones and everything. So yeah, it ended up being very, very good.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking another question. But I know you wanted to talk about the ancient ant people today. I've learned quite a bit about them recently. I knew I'd done some. Like past life regressions and some dimensional work, talking to different guides and seeing how the ancient ant people guided the Native American people down into the inner earth during the fires and the floods, and to protect the tribes. And I came to find out that one of my guys, Isaac, I showed him one time on, I believe on the show, this guy here, this crystal skull here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him.
Yes.
He actually, this is an edifice. They call these edifices and these skulls. And there are different types of beings that can speak through them. And one of which, Isaac, I found, is one of the ancient ant people. And he's speaking to us from deep underground. He actually imbued this skull, this edifice, with his, we would call it a light body or an astral body or an energy form. So he can be in two places at once. We would, and he tried to explain it to me in more of a laymanistic term, where he was actually deep underground in Agartha, and he was actually speaking to me from down there. But yet he could bilocate like what I do when I actually go remove entities from properties and everything.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. The shape of the skull that you had there almost looks kind of ant-like.
Mm-hmm, yes, yeah. And what's funny is this is the color he actually is, this rust color, and or like burnt sienna type color. Because I've seen in dream sequences what he actually looks like. And he has kind of like a beetle quality to him, where like this, the head kind of goes back elongated, but it's like this beetle type of head. And he has antennae, and he has these skin jowl type things that come down like this on the chin. And I got to see what he looked like. Yeah.
Well, that's just like in the drawings. Those petroglyphs that I took pictures of. You remember they had something sticking down like that,
Yeah, and in some cases, insectoids have like the mandibles that they talk with and eat with. They they have like a mantis type thing. But with Isaac's people, they have a mouth like ours. They look like us, but they have the skin jowls. Yeah.
What do those antennas do?
Huh?
What do those antennas do?
I believe they just help him sense the different energies, the environment. Actually, I was asking it right here. It says, it's more of like a sensory type of thing, or a like we have our psychic third eye, and that's their way of like sensing energy waves.
Oh yeah. What do they eat?
Let's see. He just basically says like everybody eats like what everybody else eats. He says in his physical form it's meat, vegetables, and mainly organic. He's telling me. Yeah.
So they have like squirrels and stuff like that, little moles and just little animals that they eat.
Yeah. They're actually more like us, upright, but yeah, they do eat animal meat and everything like we do. And so he's pointing out some of them do. Not it's like us humans, we have a variety of tastes and stuff like that. It's pretty much the same, but they eat what's available.
Well, we hear there's reports in the underground earth and everything that there's like these large caverns. So does he like live in a cavern?
Yeah. Oh, yes. He showed me one time that he actually lives in this like underground like cave area that looks like where an ant had dug tunnels in, and the surface would be like how you see some of those Anastasi structures that are on the sides of the hills and everything. It's kind of like that. Their homes look kind of like that, but a mix between that and like a Yoda hut, where it comes up like in a mound on the surface, and there could be a small hole where they can come in and out of. He showed me what their homes actually look like, and there's this series of caverns down there where some of these ant people actually exist, along with other people, but they have their own section of the inner earth that they actually congregate in.
So is there light down there, or is his eyes just able to see in the dark?
He says both. There is a lit area where they can go into, but he says his eyes are actually light sensitive, that they can actually put like a membrane over their eyes when they're going into a more lit area, like we wear sunglasses or contacts.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's very fascinating. We know about Carlsbad Caverns, which is so much, they've only there's no telling. They probably haven't even explored 1% of it. And it kind of makes you wonder, maybe why they haven't explored more. But right here in Austin, there's a place called Natural Space Caverns, something like that. But I've been I haven't gone on the actual tour, but I've been down there in the gift shop and seen some facts about it and stuff. One dubious fact they have is they're the first, cavern or whatever that has put felony charges on somebody for going in there and exploring without permission. Mm-hmm. And of course, that could be because they don't want them to disturb the stalactites and stalagmites. But you and me know there's probably a little bit more to it than that.
Oh yeah, I get this feeling it's an opening to the inner earth, and also maybe some base connections that are there. Because I've noticed Shasta is actually a major opening to the inner earth. There's like this huge opening to the inner earth, just like in Antarctica there is an opening there. So I feel like this cave, and Isaac here is corroborating this.
I feel the exact same thing. And now that you mention it, I just remember the name of it, and the name of it is Inner Space Caverns. So I mean, they're almost playing on the whole inner earth type deal, as far as. But I mean, these people. I mean, now Isaac might know, but I mean, surface-dwelling humans, they don't know how deep these things go. Mm-hmm. But we hear from these Olmec and Toltec religions of the shamanistic religions of ancient Mexico that supposedly, way back in the day and even after the white man had got here, certain Indians or certain chiefs and shamans and stuff could actually travel from like New Mexico or Arizona all the way down there to Mexico underground the whole way.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there are caverns that stretch basically planet-wide, and the U.S. government has exploited a lot of this area that's closer to the surface there. The Cabal bases actually go across the country as well. There's a whole underground highway system and everything that exists down there. I've actually seen remnants of this before. So I actually stumbled onto a secret road one time going from Colorado into Nebraska that had openings to another highway, and there were different exits that weren't used anymore, like old buildings and stuff that weren't used anymore. But I could tell there were cameras watching, a friend of mine and I going through there, and this was like a highway that cut an hour and a half off of our trip back into Nebraska. And you could tell there were openings to places that went underground from this highway. I've never been able to find it since. It was on the border of Colorado and Nebraska.
Y'all drove down there in a car?
Yeah, we drove. There was this road that actually dipped down below the highway level. We could still see Interstate 80, I believe it was, from that. And we dipped down a little bit, and we drove this thing for an hour and a half just to see where it led us, and it led us to the Nebraska border.
Wow. So did it have just regular lights inside of it?
It wasn't completely underground. It was just a dip, kind of like a stadium dip down. Wow. And this area led to different checkpoints that I could tell a human could walk underground through there. There was like these bridges that went over this highway. It looked like an abandoned highway, but it was more or less an op where if anybody found it, they would think it was just an abandoned highway. But there were passages that led into other underground areas along there. I knew that was an access point. We didn't get to see the complete underground one, but a friend of mine that worked in the Air Force actually did get to see one of the underground ones. That's how he got from Illinois to Nebraska in less than like 3 hours. He traveled through the underground highway system.
Wow. And we also hear reports of there's some ancient type of subway system down there that they've commandeered, they've taken over. Is there any truth to that?
Oh yeah, the Cabal's using a lot of some ancient structures that some of the Agarthan tribes don't use anymore. Some of these bored out stone structures, some of the ant people had to do with creating that in the past, but the Cabal has just augmented them with their bases. And there are tram systems, there are train systems that go underground. There are also underground elevator systems and tube systems as well, leading to different bases. Like I could literally go from one end, like say the East Coast, all the way to the large base that's in Nebraska, and drive it, or even go through a tram system all the way to there. They go throughout the country. But you go down even further, and there's the Agarthan network down there, where the Ant people and a lot of the Agarthan tribes exist down there.
What is the physical description of the Agarthans?
There's several different types of races that live down there. There's dozens of races that live down there. One of the prevalent ones I've seen down there are ones that come from the dual sun system, Cirrus. They have like a blue pigment to them. They have pointed ears like an elf. And they have black, slick back hair. Some of them are blonde. Like they have a different variation of hair colors. And then there's a blue human look without the pointed ears that looks like Krishna or Hindu mythology. And then there's the Ant people, of course, and there are Nordic people that live down there, like Scandinavian-looking people that live down there. Some are bad, some are really not, like we call them the Nazi Agarthans, because there were some of them that assisted the Nazis during World War II. That's where they get the blonde hair, blue-eyed from, along with the white reptilian look. That's why the Nazis went for white skin. And then there is there's different group. There's a group of course the Draco reptilians are down there. Then you have these raptor-looking reptilians that look like chickens. They have like a feather plume out the back of their head. Yeah, they're like animals that wander through the tunnels. And they also guard giant tombs. Giant tombs are down there as well. Giants in stasis.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So, are there some giants that are awake, or are most of them in stasis?
It varies. I've noticed that there are a lot of ones that are awake, and then there are some that are still sleeping. It varies across the face of the planet. And there are also giant women ones, too. There's like an Amazon tribe that exists down there as well, I came to find out. I learned that one the hard way because I ended up bilocating to their section of Agartha, and I ended up getting pushed out of there. But in somebody's read, I was trying to trace where their guide was talking from. And it was like this, Grecian, palace look in this one section. And I go in there, and all of a sudden there's these two women with spears aiming them at me. I'm like, whoa, what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And for one, they couldn't handle I have a slightly lower vibration than they do, and they couldn't handle that. And the fact also I was a guy, they didn't want any guys in that
right.
section.
It's a women's club, girls only, huh?
Yeah, and I gained their trust over a period of time. It took a little while, but they started to talk with us more and more. But then, there are also various other groups down there, there's different groups that align with different symbols, too, like Japanese symbols, and there's some Japanese-looking people that exist down there. They're descendants of a group that come from out in the galaxy known as Untumbans, and they're a proto-Japanese culture that actually basically seeded all the Oriental races that you've ever heard of, especially Japanese culture. That is the closest to their own culture, but there are descendants of them that live down in the inner earth. Some align with different geometric shapes, like an octahedron. I've seen that group down there. They have that on their uniform. They wear this hood. They have that on their uniform. There's, of course, the Sasquatch people. And various animals that we thought went extinct.
Come here, Gunter. Hold on. Gunter, come
Okay.
here. Gunter, come here. Come here, Gunter. Gunter, come here. Oh, I thought you might have somebody with you. Okay, sorry about that. The geometric shape that I resonate with, and, I don't know if you've heard of the ancient Platonic or Plato idea that people that should contemplate on Platonic solids.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't gone completely into it, but I know exactly what you're talking about, yes.
Well, the one that I resonate with, and I've got a large structure, and that's the dodecahedron.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that shape is extremely powerful, energy-wise, geometrically. I've been looking more and more into different shapes, like I said, octahedrons and octagons, and I've noticed that the bad guys like to use shapes against people to draw energy out of them, like with the energy collection units. They use the octagon shapes. But the good guys can also use these same principles. to combat these different bad guys as well. I've noticed putting rods in certain patterns actually creates new and interesting energy fields that can combat certain problems or certain bad guys, or just create all new frequencies. It's very interesting that you brought that up, because it's proved to be invaluable.
Yeah, well, the dodecahedron. I don't know whether it's the hexagram or the octa. What is it that a stop sign is?
Octagon.
Octagon. Yeah, it's either the octagon or the hexagram hexagon. Excuse me, hexagon that it's put together like in a ball.
Mm-hmm.
And now and then there's this guy Buckminster Fuller, who back in the 50s or something came up with the buckyballs. In other words, you know what I'm talking about? He discovered, there are these other platonic solids that we didn't know about until now, and then they're more sophisticated or whatever. So I guess those would count too.
Oh yeah, the buckyball, that would be like the carbon atom, where it's in that geometric shape, from what I heard of. And also there are some engineered viruses out there that some of the bad alien forces have actually created in these geometric shapes as well, that our immune system can't always fight. Well, since we're evolving different DNA because of these new energies that are coming in and all these energies that we're accessing, our DNA is turning into these different shapes as well on the quantum level, and we're actually starting to be able to combat a lot of these different things these aliens are putting out.
Fascinating. So, the tetrahedron is like a pyramid, except instead of being 4 sides, it has 3 sides, and then you put a bunch of them together, and that's where you get the star tetrahedron, Mm-hmm. And I think that's maybe associated with Merkaba or something like that. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, Merkaba is actually a very powerful shape. I found it was Germain that helped bring that one to this time frame. And I found out he uses this basically, it's almost like Germain's trademark. I've communicated with Germain on several occasions, and he's actually a human from about 20,000 years into the future, I came to find out. Or in his timeline, he says a future that's parallel to our own.
So you're talking about Count Saint Germain?
Yes. And I came to find he's about roughly from 20,000 years into our future. And he came back in time because the invading entities were sending the timelines askew, or because they screwed up the fabric of time-space. And he came back to actually staple a good timeline using his geometric forms. He likes to make these crop circles that have these very elaborate geometric forms. Him and his group, I should say. They like to use the one that he told me that he did was one known as the Clay Hill crop circle, and he told me to look it up and stare at the symbol for quite some time just to see what I could read from it. And I did, and I ended up erasing some junk programming that I didn't even know that I had possessed. And he had actually woven in this message into this particular crop circle so that people's programming certain negative programming would start to lift, and that a good timeline would carry on from that point, kind of like a stamping or a stapling of that particular timeline, like a fixed point is what he was trying to create.
Kind of like putting a template on top of it, almost.
Yes, like redirecting a river or cutting off a river with like a levee point, and that's what he told me that he was doing. Yeah, Germain, like I said, I've spoken to him on several occasions, but I don't hear from him all that often. He's actually quite busy. He has a lot of things he's doing on the planet that he hasn't told me, but that is one thing that he has reported. And he's also aided in helping create some of these different rod variations. There's a series of books called the Phoenix Journals that a friend of ours, Jim, out in California, the rod maker, he calls himself the cosmic rod maker, and he's the one that machines these. He's been looking into the Phoenix Journals quite a bit. That were channelings of Germain, and that we found out about 70-75% accurate because human bias was involved in some of the warnings for certain scientific principles weren't put in there because the bad guys chopped it out of there. But we found out that that Jermaine had a lot to do with that. He was one of the main contributors to the Phoenix Journals, and we've been actually following some of the things in that, and we noticed that some of the things that the guides are having us create parallel some of the scientific principles that are already in the Phoenix Journals.
Fascinating. Now, Count Saint Germain had a physical incarnation here on Earth several hundred years ago, didn't he?
Yes, I found out he was actually several people in history. One of them that I could confirm was, I believe it was St. Patrick. He was St. Patrick of Ireland. I found that out. And because I noticed the looks were very similar to the person I was seeing. And he told me to look up that. He's also a walk-in for Vladimir Putin, I found out. And recently I came to find out that he is a walk-in for Putin.
So you mean the Vladimir Putin that we see on the news today has an aspect of Count Saint Germain in him?
Yes. I came to find that out. Just like one we communicate with by the name of Valiant Thor, actually an aspect of him was President Obama. Valiant Thor is very much similar to Germain, but only Valiant Thor comes from the Venusian colonies, Venusian people. If anybody wants to look it up, it's the Stranger at the Pentagon. That's the story of Valiant Thor. And my family and he have been kind of intertwined for quite some time. So we have like a personal connection to Valiant Thor. So it's very similar to he's very similar to Germain.
Now they've got pictures of him like in black and white, like back in the 50s, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He does actually look like that. My mother actually encountered him back in 1971 in Chicago, and or outside of Chicago, and he looked like those pictures. It's just that he had more blondish hair, and he was actually attempting to help her on her path at that time, but she didn't know who he was or what he was doing there. But then he came to me later and said that he already knew our family for quite some time when he started coming to me. And it was very fascinating when she remembered that. She knew that we already met him. And I tried to call out to him. He tends to show up when he feels like it. He doesn't come to me if I call out to him. It's like with Jermaine. Those two, I can only get a hold of them if they have some specific task or some specific message they want to impart. Because it seems those two, them and Michael, they seem to be extremely busy, and you don't really hear from them all that much. And we have a personal connection to Michael as well, but him, he's actually another hard one to get a hold of anymore. But yeah, Valiant Thor, that's actually an interesting story. Some of these politicians that are out there and some of these world leaders are actually walk-ins for some of these other benevolent guys from the future, some other galactics that wish to help out here. And like with Valiant Thor, people always get confused because they thought, I was saying that Obama was like directly him, and I thought that at first as well. And people go, well, why is he doing all this stuff that people are against, and stuff like that? And I found out that Valiant Thor speaks in opposites. He'll show people what they don't want, so they figure out what they want in their own hearts, in their own minds. And that's how he operates.
Inversion. Inversion.
Inversion technique. Yeah, that's one of his favorite techniques to get a point across to people, is to actually show something that is incorrect, so people actually acknowledge what's correct in their own life, in their own space. Yeah,
it's kind of like a reverse parable.
Exactly, and I asked him why he did that. He said he'd been doing it for centuries, and it worked perfectly each time he was able to actually acclimate a culture into the next age by using that technique, and this age is no different. He's actually trying to usher in more of a slow trickle disclosure so that people get acclimated to the idea of aliens and aliens have been on our planet since the beginning. That's what he's trying to do currently.
Well, anytime there's a good movement or a good thing coming about, the cabal will always try to slightly give a different version of it or whatever, co-opt it somehow. So,
they're trying to spin their own story.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to spin their own story of how they want. That basically, what they're trying to do is try to get. Basically, the cabal worships these white pale. They call them their gods, or basically we call them Anunnaki or Greys. They worship them. And they're trying to present their gods to the people. So they're trying to spin stories showing how great these beings actually are. Well, the real guides have come in and said, no, tell people this story is a spun story, but show them what is actually legit about it as well. They're spinning legitimate, like scientific information in there, legitimate alien information in there, legitimate historical information in there. But then they're spinning this other story so people get confused.
I'm so onto that, and what I call that is the Anunnaki narrative.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's actually very well put. Yeah. We ran into this. Our guys were warning us about this from day one when we were watching some of the stuff like on Gaia TV and stuff like that. We were watching. Like some of the shows that were on there, and we noticed the same fragment of a story was always being spun. I mean, I'm not dumping on Guy at all. It's just that there also are other people on there that have actually said the truth and not actually participated in the spinning. I've noticed. So there's been some stuff I know, and I've seen it with my own eyes that I know is confirmed.
Yeah, like probably William Henry.
Actually, not so much just him, but there was another one that was one of the co-hosts on Cosmic Disclosure, not Good, but this other guy that was on there. He was talking about cloning and some of the cloning aspects and some of the replication of
David
DNA.
Wilcock?
Huh?
David Wilcock?
No, it was somebody else he was interviewing not too long ago. That was Emery was the guy's name. We were listening to this and we heard some things that we recognized were true, like the cloning and the stuff about cloning and stuff, replication of DNA, the merging of different DNAs, and that the cabal had more of a clandestine agenda when it came to this. Had no, they thought it was more of an improvement to alter the genes and make themselves more perfect, versus allowing evolution to take hold. And any sort of spiritual thought that they actually felt by merging all these different DNAs, they could create a more perfect soldier, a perfect human. And that's one of the things he was talking about, like, okay, he hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when he was talking about the different blending of animal and human DNA, there was this encounter that we had when we went up to Thumb Butte one time. This is something that nobody knows about until now. We went up to Thumb Butte to gift items to the Sasquatch people. And I went up there to leave stones and gifts and food and stuff like that for them. And the past several times we had gone up there, we were getting negative contact. We had telepathic reptilian contact and all that, and I was like, no, I don't want that to happen anymore. We went up there, and I kept hearing these voices in my head while I was up there basically telling me to leave, and I knew it wasn't the Sasquatch people, and I knew it wasn't reptilian. And I'm thinking, this feels different to me. And I actually could see with my third eye and also transparent with my actual eyes. There were these dogmen-looking people that were there that had human features to them. And they were dressed like soldiers. They were in clothes, but they had kind of a werewolf look to them. And I'm like, okay, what is this now? This is new. Well, I came to find out, mixed with what we found out about different mixing of DNAs, these were actually augments of some sort, like super soldier type augments. They were trying to mix animal DNA.
Oh,
anyway.
Wow. How tall were they?
I would have to say that in the dog form, I believe they were at least about 7 feet, at least 7 feet tall. And they were bulky in the shoulders, but they had the face of a human, but they had the dog features. It's because these were genetic augments, or they were given some kind of injection that created this like werewolf type appearance. And I came to find out they were actually quite strong, quite telepathically strong as well, and that we would be seeing some of these other things more and more as time went on, as the new energies were coming about. A lot of these different projects were going to come out and come to light. But yeah, I was very frustrated when I went up there and found that, because I wanted to interact with the Sasquatch people, and instead we found these genetic mutants that were wandering around up there. And then we had confirmation not only by watching the show, but by the guides telling us before that that, yeah, a lot of this stuff was actually going to take place. And other people have been experiencing this as well. Like weird creatures washing up on beaches and stuff like that. These were like failed experiments. And things of that nature have been happening a lot more recently.
Yeah, that the idea of I can't remember the name of it right now, but the place, the Navy base or whatever, where they were making some of these atrocities. Some of these, you know, it's right on the tip of my tongue. But you know, J.C. Johnson, I don't know if you've heard of him, but I don't know that he's in the Four Corners area anymore, but he was right down there where you are and doing guided tours for people, just regular, and he's not psychic or anything like that. And as a matter of fact, he's a Christian guy, but he's been documenting all of these, but he's also friends with the Indian tribes, and he's been helping people with, you know, they're being plagued by these, you know, dog men and maybe occasionally, not usually a Sasquatch, but other different types of creatures. But he says that a lot of times the dog men are misidentified with the Sasquatch. You know, people think it's a Sasquatch, but it's really a dog man.
Oh yeah, I've seen that myself, where I'll think I'm looking at a Sasquatch being either through the third eye or what have you. It's really, the energy is a little bit different. And I've run into benevolent and malevolence of both these species as well. But yeah, there is a lot of misidentification. People think big and hairy that, oh, it's always Sasquatch, but they could be looking like a Chewbacca type form, where they're like a dog person. You know, and that's where I found out Lucas got the idea for Chewbacca was a dogman species.
Fascinating. Another thing they said they ran up into was the banshee. In other words, from the Irish, you know, mythology or whatever, some type of thing that was maybe coming through the treetops, but it screamed so loud that it, you know, maybe paralyzed you or something.
Oh yeah. An interesting story about banshees, because I've actually encountered these creatures before. They're some of them are irritating, some of them are benevolent. The ones I ran into, this was in Nebraska. There was when I was there. This is not a place where you expect to run into banshees, but actually I ran into two places. One were in some of the graveyards I was investigating, where I was seeing these wailing people next to graves making this like screechy, ungodly screechy noise, you know, going, next to some of the graves, and these were actually predators that were trying to get close to people. They're very similar sometimes to the mimicker demons or ghoulish forms, but this particular type was slightly different. They wanted to occupy more of an area. They were more of a domineering type of entity. But when I was doing a channeling session when we were still in Lincoln, Nebraska, we had moved into an apartment where there was this mirror that was over a sink that had this portal in it. And it was a normal apartment building. And my mother and I wanted to know, how to get this portal closed. Because it was starting to mess with us quite a bit. And I went over to this thing, and there was a guy that we had encountered while we were there. Before this, I hadn't really interacted with too many of some of these other cryptids like gnomes and leprechauns and stuff like that. It was mainly some of the upper galactics out there in space and everything I would deal with. But we had dealt with a leprechaun by the name of Brimble, and he came to us because he said he knew us from the ancient past and everything, or from our soul history and everything. And I could literally see him with my eyes, but transparent. I could see when he walked in the room and everything. And he was about the size of maybe a 5-year-old, 5 or 6-year-old. And I was asking him about that portal over the sink. And he told me to bilocate into it and see where it led. Well, it led out just outside of Blarney Castle in Ireland. That's how far this wormhole had stretched, was all the way to Ireland. I said, "Is that how you got here?" And he said, "Yes, something like that." It was a very similar method of travel. And he was wanting me to block this portal because he said some banshees were trying to get through from over there and tried to get into an area they'd never been in before and nobody expected them to be in. And I started to communicate with several of these beings. They looked kind of like these shadows that would parallel people as they walked. There were these weird things, with long fingers, and they made these weird like humming noises and screechy and noises that they would make and kind of throw people off of their game. Well, I started to interact with these beings, and I asked them where they came from, what they were there to do. and they basically said they were there just to they were there to take over the area, and they had been assigned by somebody else a long time ago to do so, and they wouldn't tell me who. But it was very interesting the way these creatures had to be stopped was not only by closing that portal and cutting them off from their lifeline, but these other nature forces that were in the Lincoln area had to help get rid of these beings by transmuting them into other things, just transmuting them into other energies, because they essentially were a conjuring of somebody else's. And that was another type of banshee I ran across. And I've run across good ones that look like Irish women with the red hair. And they're actually, they look like a normal human. It's just that they have like plant features to them, or like nature features to them. And they are actually very good, that particular race I've run into. But those are the three types of banshees I've actually encountered.
Well, what J.C. Johnson says, and this is, we see this from the, these experiences and stuff, in the physical form, like say this dog man or maybe a banshee or for sure a Sasquatch, in their physical form, they could easily kill somebody. Easily. Mm-hmm. But it seems like I know they have, but it seems like for the most part they don't. Like that dog man, he'll scratch up the car and he'll scratch on the roof and everyone's all scared. And he could really just rip down the wall, but he doesn't do it. Is there some type of spiritual protection that people have normally that they can't get by, or what? What is that?
I believe in some cases they are protected by their guides, like the other telepathic beings that are actually warding off these different cryptids and creatures. And I came to find out that happened to us, where some things have gotten close to, like my mother and some friends of hers, and some guides have actually pushed them away. So there are some people that have genetic protection, energetic protection, and guide protection as well that keeps some of these beings away. Some people emit a frequency that some of these beings don't like too. They like either in their genetic memory or their auric field that these beings get repelled by. I've noticed. It doesn't happen with everyone, but it does happen with some people where they're just emitting some kind of repellent these beings don't like.
Or they have a big bad son of a bitch like Theratos with them.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. Like some of these species actually clash, and like the Sasquatch and the Dogman, they clashed for quite a while until some of the groups actually started to get along. I know some of the groups actually started to get along. Every now and then you'll get a skirmish back and forth from them, but yeah, like if you have your guy, like if you went out there and encountered one of these dangerous forms of dogmen, I can guarantee you your guide will either appear to try to wrestle this being, or at least have some kind of telepathic influence exerted on this other being to get them to leave.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, but I'm still not going to go inviting trouble.
No. There's some things that I won't do that I've noticed some like other paranormal investigators do. I've been down that road before where I'll go into graveyards and stuff to clear them, but there's just some of these really seriously decrepit, lifeless areas that I've been to that I have no intention of repeating going there.
Well, one thing that kind of intimidates me would be like an old abandoned mine or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and interestingly enough, there's this abandoned mine here in Arizona that there was this show called Ghost Adventures. They went to this abandoned mine outside of Phoenix, and I came to find out that in the backstage, that area is actually an area where aliens like to bring people to actually experiment on them. I found out they actually drifted a whole town into a pocket of reality to where they could actually experiment on people, and that was an area where they do it from, is in that spot in Arizona. And
so those people think that they're just in their regular town, or do they somehow suspect that they've been put into another reality or something?
I don't think they know that they've been taken. I think they're just living out their lives. I noticed one of the towns that was taken was one from the Old West time that actually got stuck in the backstage, and they still think they're in the 1880s or 90s. I came to find that out. It's somewhere here in Arizona. I haven't located the exact location yet of it, but they think that they're still in that Old West time frame. And then that's where you get some of these missing towns from, or missing villages from in history, where some aliens will grab them and transport them to a different dimensional pocket somewhere. Roanoke was the same way. Roanoke County was the same way, we found out.
Roanoke, Virginia?
Yeah, the colony, the lost colony of Roanoke, we found out it was the same way, where it got drifted to a different pocket of reality as well.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a missing, town of Roanoke.
Oh yeah, the old missing colony of Roanoke from back, I believe it was 1500s, where this whole thriving community just vanished, and we found out. We went to Roanoke Island. Back when we were on that end of the country, and you could feel that there was a different energy there. We found out it was more of a safe zone now, but back in that time, we channeled that the villagers had encountered reptilians and encountered some dragon forms back then. That actually they tried to stop them, and they got pulled into the backstage, pulled into a different dimensional pocket, and that's what happened to them.
There's a city that they talk about, and I don't know if it's if this has been on one of these shows, but I think it's in Thailand, or no, not Thailand, maybe Taiwan. Anyway, somewhere over there in Asia. But it's some city that when you can see it, sometimes at night when you're out on a ship on the ocean, and you can see it, but yet there's other times that you can't see it. But then they also have reports of people that come from there. That to live amongst us from a short amount of time, it's like a phantom city.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. These are like with Agartha. These are different areas where these different beings are living in a different dimensional pocket or a different frequency, where we can sometimes see it and sometimes can't. And I've heard of reports that where people come and go from those and come into either help us out in some fashion, or one of us goes to them, and they end up being a missing person here, where they'll get stuck in that frequency. It's actually very interesting. There was also a report online a couple of years back of a sky city that was reported as well. I came to find out that was actually the actual sky city that's actually floating above our planet, that's in a very high frequency that beings like Michael and them actually exist in. And that's what that was. People were seeing remnants of those different frequencies that were bleeding into ours. And that's why people have been seeing some of these things. They're actually in a different frequency that since humans are actually getting to the point where they can actually see into these different layers, they're actually seeing these lost structures. Just like with some of the Mayan temples and such, for instance. I came to find out in our frequency, we have like a wrecked version, like an aged version. But if we go to their frequency, we would see a completely intact Mayan pyramid or Mayan temple facility if we went into their frequency.
With people walking around and everything.
Yeah, with people walking around and everything. So these cultures didn't disappear. They just shifted over to a different frequency dial.
Fascinating. Yeah, in the Carlos Castaneda series of books, Don Juan Matus warns, Carlos Castaneda, don't go there to like these ancient, pyramid sites, the ones that we know about, because just the energies is so foreign and so alien and different, it can harm you or something like that.
Oh yeah. You can, if you get acclimated to the torsion field of that area. Like if your own torsion field starts to match one that's stronger, you'll actually get pulled into that frequency. That's where some of the missing people go. They get pulled into these different layers. I came to find out, not aside from what the Greys and them are doing with their slave trade and all of that other stuff. The people get pulled into these different frequencies when they walk into these different areas, either into a negative frequency or positive one. I came to find out. Like I communicate with some of the ancient Mayan groups that are out there in the galaxy, and they were telling me that in some cases some of them never left. Some of them went to Agartha, and other ones they just drifted into a frequency that the bad guys couldn't see them in. That's how they escaped some of the bad guys coming in to harm them, as they just went into what they call the heart space frequency. They drifted into this other frequency where they could just continue to live out their lives. So they didn't actually go anywhere. Some of these beings have actually been watching us for centuries and have walked right next to us and walked right next to us in our daily life. nobody's ever seen them except very seldomly. And that's where some of our spirit guides come from. They're actually other people that walk side by side with us and communicate with us telepathically.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, Christopher, we've talked for an hour, and so what I'm thinking is, can we take a short break? Maybe leave the call on and for, say, about 5 minutes, use the restroom, get some refreshments or whatever we need to do. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great, yeah.
And I'd like to maybe hear about, you mentioned Simon Parks earlier. I'd like to hear about some aspects of the interview you did with him.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll see you back here in 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll see you in a bit.